everybody. Welcome to today's podcast. We have the legend himself, good friend, family man, amazing surfboard shaper, Mark Puen. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's good to see you.
So great to see you. Thanks so much for having me on here. Really
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's super cool because me and you always I've been getting boards from you since I was super young, and you've just been making so many super sick, unique boards in the sense for what I usually ride, kind of getting me out of my comfort zone. And yeah, I just been loving your kind of I wouldn't even say outside look, because I guess people do it, but you're definitely you're very crafty, I would say, in your approach to shaping, your tails and stuff, just all the boards you've been making. So how's everything been? And you just moved to the Big Island a year ago, right?
Actually, it's been 5 years now. So we moved here about 5 years ago.
Wait, I'm tripping. And, it has been 5 years.
That long. Yep. And so it's been an adjustment for sure, but we definitely love it here. We've come to really love the Big Island. But yeah, I mean, I've been making you surfboards since you were a young kid. Do you remember the first board that you got?
It was was it? I think I was 12. I think I was 12 or 13, but it was I know you dropped me off. Was it the board you dropped me off? You dropped me off.
No. So it was through Judd Lau's shop, right?
Okay. Yes. It was Hanapapa. Yeah. It was.
And then it was. I remember it was kind of early evening or something like that, and I came. I was going to drive to your house, but then you met me on the corner of the road. You were so psyched to pick up the board.
It was.
And you were waiting outside.
You did. You dropped it off. I do remember that. Yeah, that was dude, it's so crazy how fast time flies. We go.
And now you have a kid of two kids.
Two kids, married. It's just freaking weird, man. But yeah, it's so cool. We definitely go way back. When did you start your journey shaping? Was it here on Maui?
No, it was actually in California. So I lived in California, grew up in California, actually. So a good friend of mine, his name is Joey. He was actually my business partner on Maui when we had our surfboard factory at the time. But anyway, we both surfed together quite a bit, and we wanted to learn how to shape surfboards. And the opportunity came up from another friend who was making boards out of his backyard, and he basically taught us the basics of how to make a board, and that was back in 1996. And
the good 90s.
Yeah. And ever since then, we've been building boards since 96.
That's so nuts, man. Look at that. You have over 20 years of experience, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've been doing it since 96.
Forever.
But
so
still learning.
Always. That's amazing, man. And it was so cool because your house you had in Pukalani, I remember you just had your own little, I like to call everything dojos, but you had your little shaping room over there. And yeah, that was so sick. So in the sense of when you started your journey shaping and then you came to Maui, and then I do remember you were doing, you had a collaboration with Judd Lau, right? Is that what
Correct.
It was?
Yeah. So we had our factory in the Puella Cannery, and I was making boards for Judd Lau for his shop, Hana Highway Surf at the time.
Okay.
And then he came up with his label, Hanapapa Surfboards. So we started making boards for him, and I believe that's how I met you during that time. Yeah.
Yep. I was young and just super stoked. I think that was, you actually.
And
you were
Paige
my first.
too.
Yeah, it was Paige, Nalu Wallace was getting boards from you guys for a while. That's such a trip, man. I remember that was actually that was one of my. I think when I was really young, I got one custom board from Mark Anderson from the West Side because my dad. He's actually related to my sister guys.
Oh, wow.
the Andersons. Yeah. So my sister's mom is Doreen Anderson, so they're like first cousins. And so I got my first board from him, and I was pretty young, and then you were like, and then I started getting custom boards, and that was you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just crazy how time flies, man. So
So fast.
so right now on the Big Island, you're shaping, and then you're also, your boards are is it your shop, or do you have a shop there, or you're...
Yep. So when we moved here, we built a house, and at the time, I wanted to get back into shaping, but I didn't have a shaping room or a place to build boards. So once we were done with our build at the home, I decided to build a shaping room. So I've got a shaping room, and then I started glassing boards here too, because it's not like Maui where you can, we had glass shops, and our shop, our factory on Maui, we were able to hire glassers to come and do all our work, but here there's not too many guys, and the guys that do it here, everyone does it from start to finish. So I started glassing boards here, and basically just out of my garage, and I'm currently still doing it that way because I'm in the process of building a glass shop too as well on the property. So
dude,
yeah,
so sick, man. You're just OG. Like, you just do like that. I feel like that's the way to do it. Like, that's like the true grit of shaping, right? You're just getting your hands dirty and doing it from start to finish, the whole works.
The whole way, and then you have nobody else to blame but yourself if there's mistakes.
That's how, though, man. That's so awesome. Yeah. So in your latest venture right now, because you just sent me over a couple really cool boards, and like, I've talked to this in other videos and stuff, and we've talked about it. You had a twin fin there, and I wrote you previous, just kind of explaining a board I was looking for, and you're like, I have a freaking, like, the exact board. And I've just been riding that board pretty much like for the past 3-4 months, like every day.
That's amazing.
And it's such a sick board. And so right now, what are you mostly shaping? Are you shaping like kind of like that hybrid shortboard fish type of twin fin boards? Are those like your go-to boards right now? Like, what kind of things do you have in works?
So right now here on the Big Island, I've been getting a lot of requests for like alternative type boards, from fishes to anything in between, the twin fins, quads, but a lot of the outlines are basically based off the fish type of template, and then, like I said, and then more of a hybrid of those type of outlines. So I've been making a lot of that. I've been making some high performance shortboards too as well. But for Honolulu, I believe, I've been tapering down on the rocker. So not as much rocker, nose rocker, tail rocker, kind of mellowed out on some of the different type of shapes, just for the type of wave that we have here. So.
Yeah, and that's cool you brought up. This is something I always had in mind, because for how long I've been surfing, and I talked to you, and some surfers definitely, I feel like they get it, I don't know, they almost like come across like they'll know into depth about the concaves and the rockers and all that stuff, and I've always just been like one to be like, I'll leave that to the professionals in the sense of like the shaper themselves. But that's definitely something I would love to learn. But I feel like to really understand and get into depth about it, you'd almost have to be like a shaper, to really understand the curves and stuff. But with rocker, so what is the difference between, if you have a lot of rocker versus not so much rocker?
Well, so when I was building boards like for you on Maui, I was using a different types of blanks that you seem to like, that actually had a little bit more curve in the rocker, and so that seemed to, I believe, it seemed to make the board looser, more curve, but then it's also a little bit slower too as well, right? But the straighter the curve, then the faster and more drivey the board's going to be. Okay. So you just have to have, based on what type of wave that where someone might be surfing the most, we're going to definitely try and dial something in that works correctly for that type of wave. So for Honolulu, I've been finding that at least this one individual that I've been working with, I've been using a little bit more of a lowered rocker, and that seems to be working out pretty well for him.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's pretty
Okay.
drivey and pretty fast, and it's easier to catch waves too.
So for like mushy, probably softer breaks,
yeah,
you want to go with like a straighter
a little bit
curve?
flatter rocker, at least. A little bit flatter rocker.
Okay.
Not quite as much rocker. Otherwise, it'll be a little bit like like you were talking about before, with what do you call it? A high performance board with a lot of curve in the nose and tail, and you try and surf it at a small mushy wave. It's hard to surf a board like
It
that,
is.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and it's so crazy because I feel like when you start getting on, like, if you make it on the Challenger Series or you're on tour, I feel like you really have to dial in your equipment, right? And we kind of talked about this before. Sure. It's like so important to have tools for all types of conditions. And someone who's like, maybe in the sense of finances, they're like, man, I only can afford like 1 or 2 boards and whatever it is. But to really build a quiver, if it's something that you're, I believe if you're really passionate about and you really want to progress, it is so important to kind of have your tools in the sense of your boards, and like it makes the biggest difference, man. Because like now too, like I'm starting to understand, like if I have a board that's just really good, and the waves are real mushy, you get kind of like stuck on using that specific board, and then it's like, oh frick, I'm surfing shitty or whatever it is, and you're like, yeah, it's probably because the board isn't really designed or fits these type of conditions. Which then you have the boards I've been getting from you lately, like your quads, your twin fins, trailers. It's like, and it just like changes the whole game. It like really fires you up. So that's been a huge thing. Like, I feel like in regards to our conversations we've been having about boards and how you look at them as like tools and making sure you have the right tool for the job. So is it Honolulu? Is that the
Correct.
wave you're
Honolulu?
Is that wave, is that like I think I saw, I'm not sure what his name is, but you were making boards from, he's a goofy footer. Is that the wave?
Yeah. His name is Makani Walker.
Makani, okay.
Yeah, really great surfer, and it's been a pleasure working with him too as well, just trying to figure out what type of board would work well for Honolulu. And so that's kind of been the input that he's been giving me. And he's actually been writing some thicker boards too as well, which I was surprised, So it's refreshing to see that guys are going wider and a little bit more volume as well.
Totally. Yeah, that's super cool. I did check. I knew you made him some boards, and I ended up, I think you tagged him, and I looked, and he surfs super well. Goofy footer, solid fundamentals, and the boards look super flowy and fast, and that's always a good feeling. With all the designs out there right now, and it seems like with all the social media feed we come across now, I'm starting to really get like a good sense of variety. Like, there's so much people riding different types of boards and absolutely ripping on it. I think Josh Kerr is like a really good example. Like he puts a lot of time in those twin fins, and also you see a bunch of Mason Ho clips. He's been doing that forever, but it's super cool to see. And we were once talking, because you made me that quad recently, and we were kind of discussing, because Felipe at some of the tour events was riding that quad, shaped by Sharp Eye, right? And he was just freaking ripping on it. In the sense of like fins and placements for the board, what do you think makes such a big difference in these boards now when it comes to placements? with the fins and the different types of fins that we should be using on surfboards.
Well, definitely it's so great that there's so many different varieties of fins to try with different types of outlines of boards, right? And I know a lot of guys, including myself, we get stuck on one type of fin, and sometimes that's just what we know. And fins these days are so expensive, right?
No, I feel you.
But I feel like some boards, if you don't experiment with other types of fins, then an okay board, if you don't have the right fin, it may just feel just like a just okay board. But then once you switch out to a whole different type of fin, now it's completely lively and changes the whole dynamic of that board. And it feels like you have a whole nother board.
Yeah,
you know?
I totally been feeling that lately as we last talked.
Right. And it's great that you mentioned that. I know that even with Makani, ever since you had that last podcast about tools and fins, I mentioned it to him too as well. And he tried some other fins, some larger fins too for his regular thruster board.
Nice.
And he also noticed a difference too as well. But yeah, I've been playing around with different fin placements, straightening out the fins a little bit more for a little bit more drive, even on regular thrusters. And that seems to be pretty good. I mean, I'm getting a lot of good feedback with that type of setup so far. But quads, I'm amazed that not too many people are really riding quads that much right now. I know before quads kind of came back out, and a lot of people are riding quads, but right now it seems to be twins, huh? A lot of twins.
Yeah.
But the twins they're amazing.
Yeah. No, I would totally. Yeah, I would say the go-to for most people are thrusters, and then, but I would say like twin fins definitely like almost that kind of talking point, like where it's just like it's like old school, but it's like this fresh thing that's like almost like the new school thing, but it's obviously so like old school. But and then quads, I don't see anyone really using quads anymore. Like if I go down to the beach, it's thrusters or twin fins. Like I don't really see much quads being ridden at Hokipa, at least, but with the different feelings of like, because I think just for like maybe your average surfer or just like an intermediate surfer, in regards to thrusters, quads, and twin fins, how would you like best describe is the difference between three? Like what it does? Does that make sense? Like versus how a thruster would feel, what type of feeling that you get from a three fins versus a twin fin and four fins.
So with a thruster, I grew up riding a thruster like yourself, riding thrusters, and that was my norm. I only knew thruster until I made myself a quad and started riding quads. And I noticed with quads, it just had so much more drive and looseness too as well. And I really loved that feeling of going faster. Twin fins has the same type of feeling too as well. It's faster and also loose, quite loose from rail to rail. Right? I don't know if that's the same type of feeling that you get, but you still have drive.
Yeah.
Is that the same type of feeling that you get?
Yep. Especially when you add that that trailer fin to the back. Trailer. You really get that for the twin fin.
Yeah. How did it feel with just the twin without the trailer?
So it feels it's just a subtly it's a little I mean if the waves are like ankle knee high, it's fun. You get that real whippy sensation, but if it gets a little like, for me at least, for like chest high or above, I preferred the trailer fin. It just had that it's like between the feeling of a thruster and your twin fin. That's what it feels like.
Right. So less drag too if you don't have that trailer. which,
Yes.
like you said, it totally loosens it up.
It does.
But, it probably feels like it wants to slide out once it gets a little bit bigger on waves.
Yeah, maybe subtly, but I feel like with anything, right? It's like I didn't put a lot of time into like using the twin fin, so it's probably just weight distribution. Like if I just put in a like if I took the time to really just ride it and feel like the difference between pressure, you know, I probably would get the feeling of an actual twin fin. You know what I mean? Right. So I just probably got to put more time to really feel that. Right. I would say.
Yeah, but with the trailer, I guess it feels familiar, right, as far as a thruster, but still fast and loose because you've got less drag. It's not as big of as a center fin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so dude, it's so fun. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and since we're still on the topic of fins and whatnot, you did say, I think at the beginning, I just wanted to kind of go back. You said you've been doing a straighter outline with thruster fins. Is that what you said with the fin placements?
So we call it toe in, and that's the angle of the forward fins pointing towards the stringer. So if you look down from the nose down to the tail, and you'll see your center fin directly on the stringer, right? It's parallel to the stringer.
Okay.
And then you'll look at your side fins, and your side fins are pointed towards your nose, right? So we call that toe in. And so what I've been doing is just straightening that out just a little bit to give more drive. If you have, like for my fishes and for my twins, I actually straighten that out quite a bit, and it makes it even faster, right? It's that just like the twin that you have, I did the same thing with that and made it straighter. But with the thrusters, I just felt like, you know what, I want to give a little bit more drive to this type of board. For example, for Makani's board, I did that with Makani's, and I think the feeling is, well, it might make it more stiff, right? Because a straighter, if I were to make the forward fin straight, parallel to the stringer, it would be super stiff.
Okay.
Right.
I see.
But once you start towing that in towards the nose of the board, it gives it looseness, right? So, yeah. So, and then it also, the cluster affects it too. So the closer the cluster of fins, the more loose it is. But as you go bigger with boards, we tend to, the cluster becomes wider. So with guns, you know, or even boards that you were riding for Jaws, those boards, those quads that Sean makes. I mean, if you look at the fin placements, they're a little bit wider apart than your regular thruster setup that you would do on a normal shortboard, right?
Okay.
So it makes it for longer drawn out turns.
Wow, dude, that's sick. That's cool insight right there. So, you're saying it's toe side.
Toe in.
We
call it toe in. Yeah. So it's the forward fins, and we call it toe in. So, and then there's also angle of the fin too. So, we call that cant. The angle of the fin, if it's not standing straight up and down, but it may be canted out at an angle. Okay. So if you have your fins in right, you can see that it's canted out as well at certain degrees.
So when it's canted out, what does that actually do in the sense of performance for a surfboard if it's canted?
So the more straight up and down it's going to be, again, it's going to be faster and drivier, but it's going to be harder to turn. But as you bring it out, it gets more loose, right?
See how cool that is? Dude, I don't even know that.
And so there's different degrees that different shapers like, and they stick to that, you know. But I mean, I believe that most guys have a certain degree that or most glassers or laminators, that when they stick the fin boxes in and set their fins, they're going to normally use anywhere from maybe 4 to 7 degrees on their fins. From 0 to 7 degrees.
It's kind of like the go-to or like the standard.
Right. The standard.
Maybe the standard. Okay.
Right. Right.
Wow, that's actually super cool. See, man, it's like stuff like that. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't even know like the basics when it comes to actual board design. It's just like very minimal, if that. But that's super cool.
Yeah,
A lot of
interesting for sure.
It is, man, and it does make such a huge difference. Like I feel like if you can really understand fins and just like just whatever, it really does. It could change the whole like outline
board.
of the whole board could just be so different.
For sure.
Over the years, I've been like really. I feel like I've always kind of navigated towards a little bit more tapered rails in the sense of performance space. But I can see what you're saying with the, you know what? I'm going to come back to this. I wanted to actually ask you something which is so crazy. So, I would say right now, most people on tour and just competitive, maybe in the competitive side, but even maybe not, just in performance-based surfing, a lot of people navigate to lightest glass jobs. Are you familiar with that? Like, I would say most professional surfers or even surfers, like just good surfers I come across, their boards are always really light and they're just like, you get the lightest glass job.
Right. Super disposable.
Yes. I have noticed that I think growing up, I just always got the standard, maybe basic glass job, maybe the strongest or most durable glass job. And I've came to realize that I actually like the weight of it, like to pull around the weight. Like I can feel the difference. So, for example, and I just want to know your thoughts on this. I got 2 boards from Arakawa, new boards.
Right.
And I got them glassed kind of just light, like performance-based, just like light surfboards. And when I jump on the boards, they almost feel like I can almost feel the difference between all the boards I usually ride from. I think with you, like when you glass my boards, are they just normal?
Just
glass?
Normal. Yep.
There
just
you go.
Normal double 4 on the deck and 4 on the bottom.
Okay, so yes, and I've never even actually got so in depth about, what kind of glassing do you want, whatever. And that was the first time actually Eric ever asked me. Out of all the years I've been getting boards from him as well, he asked me what glassing you want. So I got the glassing, and it was so light that I feel like when I ride the boards, they're just like packy. Like it's just like tick tick tick. Like it doesn't. I don't feel the weight of the board to like lay it down. It almost feels like it's too feathery, like on top of the water. And so I don't know if it's just because maybe for all the years I've been surfing, I just got probably a 2, what do you call it? Like a 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top?
Yep. 2 layers on the deck and then layer on the bottom. And it's usually, we call it 4 ounce.
4 ounce.
4 ounce.
Okay.
Yep. So 2 layers of 4 ounce on the deck and then 1 layer of 4 ounce on the bottom.
Yeah. So go ahead.
That's your standard. Yeah.
The standard glass job. So that's what I've always got. And so I got the lightest glass job, and I didn't like the way it felt, where most people are like, I would say in the performance space wise, you're above average surfer. I think they go to the lightest glass job, right?
Yeah, it seems that way, that most everyone wants it super light so they can throw it around. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, what do you think about the difference between a 4 ounce glass job and would it be, is it what, 2 ounce? Would that, what?
6 ounce so the difference on the spectrum is maybe a longboard would be glass with 6 ounce, and the shortboard standard would be 4 ounce for a shortboard. But I mean, I'm not even close to how you guys surf, but I've noticed on lighter boards that I didn't like the feeling either. Even with catching waves, I could tell the difference. With a heavier board, it just seemed to glide in a little bit better for me. I don't know, and I think I've heard that with other guys too as well. But I think it's a personal preference. you got to try something super light as opposed to what you normally get, and you can tell the difference. But
I
maybe it
know.
is just preference. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, is it preference or does it really make a difference? Because I was like, maybe it's something I have to like put the time to get used to. But I
Hmm.
do, like you said, it does feel, even with paddling, it just feels like it pools. Like
Yeah.
the standard 4 ounce glassing almost feels like it just has a nice pool to it, like almost like
Right.
a just very glidey feeling, versus a
Right.
lighter board almost feels like it's just like almost too
Like you said,
feathery.
it's feathery. That's a good explanation. It's super light, right? So
Yeah.
and maybe when you're driving down the line, it just feels feathery, like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I
But
wonder
I
if that.
know probably a lot of like you said, a lot of the pros really like that feeling.
No, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, but then I was thinking like, does it actually navigate better to a lighter surf, like someone who's real light off their feet, or like real
Mm.
more prone to their back, like surfing off their back foot, versus a heavy
Or their
foot
front
surfer?
foot,
Yeah,
right?
like
Right.
does like what I was wondering, like, yeah, is it more beneficial to go a 4 ounce standard glass to more of a heavy foot surfer versus a lighter foot surfer, which maybe having the lighter glass job is more beneficial? Like,
Right.
I'm just curious, like, I wonder what, like someone like a Jordy Smith or
Right. What does he
um,
ride?
what's his glass job like? Yeah, does he ride
Yeah.
like a light glass job, or is he using the standard 4 versus someone like Italo Ferreira? You know what I mean? Like, is
Right.
he or Felipe? Are they using real
Yeah.
light glass
Just
jobs? I don't know. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
so curious. But Felipe
Right.
lays it down, so it's like I don't know. But maybe
Yeah.
he's I don't know. It is cool though. But I just was
Yeah.
like wondering
What
what you thought about that.
how did you, I mean, you said that it felt feathery. Any other differences as far as like turns off the
Yeah.
tops?
Yeah, so when I
It,
would kind of go to my, traditional go-to carve, it
mm,
it felt like it just didn't want to. It felt like it didn't pool right. Like it just felt like it was like wanted to just like flick out, like fly away. Like it
huh,
just didn't
right,
feel like it settled. And I think that's one of the things I really like about step ups is, you got your standard glass, but I also like the length. So I like the
hmm,
feeling of having, I almost like the feeling of the weight and the pool, so
right,
like the weight with the longer, the length of the board. So I could really
right,
feel the pool when I'm doing a carve. And I guess, yeah, with the lighter glass job, I think it felt too light for me. Like I didn't, which is
sure.
weird because I think a lot of people would be like, wait, no, that's like what, yeah, it could be preference. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be preference. And then plus, like you said, you've been pretty used to standard glass jobs, and once you jumped onto something light, maybe you may have been a little off too because it's light, it's lighter, so therefore going into turns faster or doing maneuvers a little faster.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably preference.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. But
I'd have to agree.
isn't it amazing that or interesting that boards have gone so much shorter just within the last few years? It
So much
seems.
shorter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like, so does like a lot of clientele that you get, do people usually tend to just want boards real short now?
Well, I mean, I'm doing a lot of alternative boards, so they're shorter, wider, and
In
thicker
general.
in
Okay.
general. So it has been, but I mean, it's interesting though. Even some of the the standard short boards are on the smaller side, but it seems like they're creeping out wider too, though, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's even my time on Maui. I remember. I mean, your normal shortboard was in the range of like 6.0 to 6.3, and
Yeah.
and and now those are step ups.
Yeah. No, that you're so right.
You
Those
know,
are like a 6'3", like a 6'6" for most people right now is like, that's
that's a
my
gun.
big board. where I look at a 6'6" and I'm like, yeah. But, people it is preference, like you said. I think surfing in general is very subjective. People are going to, have their opinions and thoughts of what good surfing is, what good surfing looks like, what board sizes look good underneath certain people's feet. So it's like that with anything. But yeah, I would have to say, I guess like now that you bring it up, it is kind of trippy. So if you have like a younger generation who is maybe just starting off using very small boards in general,
right?
And then versus maybe my era, your era, or even the in-between era before that, like, a step up was 6'10", 7'0", 7'4",
right.
Where now it's like because of evolution or moderation or whatever, it's like people are starting off so small that a 6'3" is like, I don't know, huge.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting though. I mean, watching you take, a 770 board, some of the Arakawas that you've been riding. I mean, you ride them like they're small.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like with any, like for sure when you go up in size like that, you're gonna, I would say like in the sense of like pull and carves and wraps and flow, it's like, it's super fun, but you're sacrificing too, right? Like it's gonna be harder to get into a very tight part of the wave, to be going up to down real fast. And so a lot of people can look at that and be like, when they want to ride a smaller board, it's going to be easier to get to a tight spot of the wave to pivot quicker, I would say. Right. But yeah, I don't know, man. It is super interesting to see, where everyone's going with the different shapes and sizes of surfboards. It's
definitely a good time for surfing. I mean, everyone's so open-minded to using different equipment, which is really nice to see.
Oh, absolutely. And it is like, even just talking with you and working with you, like, I'm pretty like, like I said, I got out of my comfort zone riding like twin fins, and you being like, man, this board's good, and trying it out, and it just opens your mind to be like, man, surfing isn't just one specific board. It's like there's many boards to have a good time on and to learn on, Sure. But with that being said, with just to go back, I would say depending on your goals when you're riding a surfboard, right? And knowing like when people are ordering a standard shortboard or whatever it is, and how you were saying back in the day, normal shortboard sizes for someone my height, like 5'8", would be a 6'0", 6'1". And if you do go back and you look at like, I mean, when I would look like Slater's a good example, right? If you look at Slater when he was 20 years old, he was using his board sizes were actually like 6'1", I believe. If you go back and look at the black and white videos, I would say his surfing, I would say even now, or even like 10 years ago, I mean, the guy was surfing phenomenal, but in the sense of just flow and style and just his overall smoothness, if you look at those guys riding those 6'1s, they did look, for me at least, better. They looked just smoother and more polished. That era when they were riding those 6'1s. Do you think like riding a little bit more length in your board does possibly just smooth and make everything a little bit more, I would say, calm now?
I mean, I think it's also the individual too as well. Like I believe from what some of the things that I've listened to with Slater, that's why he went shorter, because he wanted boards to fit more into the wave, right?
Makes sense.
But also I believe there's guys who ride. Look at Tommy Curran, right? The type of boards he was riding, and he just dances on the waves. Yeah, he just looks beautiful. He can make any board look beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely.
But I was watching like an old video of it may have been like Brad Gerlach, and he was surfing. This is back in the '90s, and surfing, you know, your standard shortboard, and I was like, wow, that board looks big on that wave, and it was probably like, I think it was like a 6'1" or something like that, but it looked long for some reason on that type of wave. It looked long, but I mean the turns were beautiful. You know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I would say like, yeah, you're right. It is like kind of stylistic in what your approach is. Like, what are you looking to do, you know? And I guess you do look at boards like that, and riding a smaller board in general, yeah, you're going to be able to fit tighter in the pockets, and it's just more chippy and quick. So maybe in the sense of like a surfer, maybe trying to smooth and slow things down, it would be more beneficial to jump on a little bigger board or a little longer short board, and then vice versa, you know, someone who's tools. Like smooth and exactly. You want to get a little bit, this makes me, I'm like, you know, like you got to ride someone who wants to sharpen up and get a little bit more quick and whatever, you jump on a little smaller board. But that's super sick to know, man. Your boards right now, when you're shaping in the Big Island, there's a shop, right? Aren't you? Don't you have boards in a certain shop in Hilo, like where you sell your boards if you're trying to get some boards and stuff?
Right. So it's called Bayfront Boards.
Okay.
And
sick.
And they've been so great. Annika is the owner, and she's just, you know, her and her crew have been so great with accepting my boards over there and helping me. You know, sell my boards too as well, and telling other people about me. So it's a small shop, but they've got everything
So
that you
sick.
would need. Yeah.
Well, I love that. It's hard to come across like sick local shops nowadays. Yeah. Like especially when you come to Maui, like there's a bunch of shops, but it's kind of corporate and it's kind of hard to navigate and find what you need. High Tech's, I mean, obviously awesome in town, but when you find those like cool local shops that's been around for a bit, it's super, I don't know, it makes all the difference. I love that stuff. Yeah. And sorry, what were you saying something?
No.
I didn't make a job.
Just that they're super great. They're great people. You know, the people at Bayfront Boards, they've been so helpful, and they've been doing a lot for the community too as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's freaking sick, man.
Yeah.
And so that shop and all that, it's located in Hilo?
Yep.
Is that where you guys are?
I live in Pepikeo, but it's right in the Hilo town, right in front of a surf spot. In fact, it's called Bayfront. Yeah. Right
Bayfront, and that's the name of their shop.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, sick. And then that's awesome. And then you right now, you're busy, dude. You're a family man, husband. You're working constantly. Are you like you're shaping pretty consistently? I always see you on the social feed just constantly blasting out boards. Are you taking like orders from people like around the island? Like, are you shaping people outer states and stuff? Like, are you taking orders in general right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking orders. I just made a board for my nephew. It's going out to the mainland, but I've taken some orders from the mainland, also from Maui, from other customers that have made boards from before. Perfect. And then of course here. So it's still growing. I mean, I'm happy to just do a few at a time because it's only me doing it. So it's a labor of love. Plus, you know, working my W-2 job and then coming home to doing boards. It's tiresome, but dude, it's so fun. I love it.
So right now with you're shaping everything at home, and where are you getting your surfboard materials and whatnot?
So currently I've been ordering all my materials from Fiberglass Hawaii, and they've been a huge help. So all my blanks come from there, all my resin, and also my fiberglass. And it's all USA made. And I'm stoked to be using the materials. I mean, it's really good materials that they supply, and it's convenient. For me, living in Hilo though, or on the Big Island, there's a little bit of a lag time. Unlike Maui, Maui has a Fiberglass Hawaii, so it's easy. It was easier back then to pick up material. But here I have to order material, so I'm about a week out before I can actually receive material for a custom order. But I tend to stock up on blanks and have some on hand, so I could at least get started if I get an order. So,
frick yeah, man! Support your Hawaii businesses. You the man. Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to me, man. I appreciate everything you've done over the years for me and every other surfer out there. And man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure,
dude.
And
always
through the years, man, it's been so fun making you boards, and I'm learning from you too as well. So I really appreciate it, and thanks for all the good feedback on the boards through the years.
Absolutely, man, and many more to come.
Yes, sir.
Yee. Thank you, Mark. You the man, brother.
Okay, thank you.